Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to Abnormal Voyages. My name is David, and today we find ourselves in Rockford, Illinois. Now, you may have heard of this place from the very famous movie A League of Their Own with the Rockford Peaches, but something even more famous comes right here from Rockford, and that, as is next to me, is the Sock Monkey. That's right, this iconic doll got its start here in Rockford. We're gonna dive into everything Sock Monkeys today, and that begins with exploring the town to see what we can find out about this monkey business. Come tag along.
We're going to a place that you've never heard of before. It's Abnormal Voyages. You're gonna learn something new. We're gonna open new doors. It's Abnormal Voyages.
Our story begins with John Nelson. He was a Swedish immigrant who patented the sock knitting machine in 1868. He did that right here at the Nelson Knitting Company. These distinctive socks would soon become part of the iconic sock monkey. And that's a fact that they are very proud of here in Rockford. All throughout the town, you can find these great statues that have been given out to different cultural spots around the city, and they decorate them to match wherever they happen to be. When you're in town visiting Rockford, it's a lot of fun just to drive around and see if you can find all the big sock monkeys that are hidden around. Once you've found all the hidden sock monkeys, it's time to head over to the Midway Village Museum, which is Rockford's historical museum. This is where they tell the entire story of this little town, and of course, they can't tell that story without also telling the story of the sock monkey.
Here we are now at the special exhibit, The Missing Link, Socks, Monkeys, and Rockford's Industrial Past. This is going to take us from the very beginning with the socks being invented all the way through to that lovely monkey and where you can find them today.
Now, the sock monkey itself is not so cut and dried of where the very first one came from, but the sock itself with the iconic red heel is certainly something we can trace, and it's traced back right here to Rockford. At one point, a lady actually tried to claim the patent for the sock monkey, saying she was the inventor and that a lot of people owed her money. This went to court, and there was lots of evidence produced, including a sock monkey created by Grace Wingant that showed sock monkeys had actually been around even longer than what the lady was trying to claim. The monkey by Grace had been made about 4 or 5 years earlier than the claim that was being put forth. That sock monkey created by Grace is actually on display here at the museum, as well as the sock monkey patent that was eventually awarded to the Nelson Knitting Company. With the legal matters behind them, sock monkeys were now free to be created by anybody that wanted to take a pair of socks and turn it into a best friend. And people have been doing that for decades. One of my favorite parts of this museum was showing examples that people have sent in of pictures of sock monkeys that they've created and really turned into some interesting projects. There's even books out there that are filled with lots of fun pictures of their own personal sock monkeys and all the adventures they happen to get into. But to really see the magic and fun of sock monkeys, we have to leave Rockford and head about an hour away to Long Grove, Illinois, which happens to be home to the one and only Sock Monkey Museum. Let's head up the stairs and check it out.
All right, we are now inside, and I am here with Megan, who is one of the magnificent monkey makers of the Sock Museum. Megan, thank you so much for giving us some time today.
It's no problem. Great to have you here.
Yes. So, what can you tell us about sock monkeys?
Well, in order to talk about sock monkeys, we have to start with the socks that they're made of. And in 1880, a man named John Nelson emigrated to Rockford, Illinois from Sweden. And Rockford's about an hour from here. And he had a dream, because back then, socks only came in two varieties.
Oh, how boring.
Yeah, and that was, you had to make them by hand, which they were nice and durable, but it took a long time because you had to make them by hand. And then they had machine ones, kind of at the time. They had to knit them flat and then have a big seam in the back. Unfortunately, those seams would fall apart and they weren't very comfortable, so he wanted to make a sock that had the best of both worlds. Something that could be fast, but durable. So what he did is he made a knitting machine that could do just that. And they were great. They were big, nice, durable, comfortable work socks. And people like farmers, fishermen, field workers, soldiers, other kind of blue-collar workers.
A lot of that hard work kind of things,
yeah,
right?
They really appreciated them a lot. But unfortunately, he ran into a bit of a problem. People liked his socks so much, they started reverse engineering them and making their own knitting machines. So, obviously he didn't like that. So what he did is in 1932, the red heel started to be added to the work socks, and that acted as two things. First and foremost, it was a signature.
Sure.
You saw a red heel on that sock, you knew it was a Nelson Knitting Company sock. But also, he could submit a new patent for it, so people couldn't steal it anymore.
So he was copywriting his work, basically.
Exactly. And little did he know that his cheeky move to add that red heel would soon be the cheeky smile of every future sock monkey.
That is super cool. So, how did the socks become the monkeys?
Well, in order to do that, we have to travel through time.
All right.
Just a little bit over to the Great Depression and World War II. So this was an era, as you know, of really hard times. So any money that you had to be allotted to survival. That would be for food, clothing, and shelter. Unfortunately, the thing that's not on that list is toys.
Right.
But what's a mom to do for her kids? She wants them to have something fun and something to imagine with and play with. So mom looked around the house and said, "What's here that I can make into a toy?" Well, what about Dad's old work socks? Especially if he's on the other side of the world fighting in a war, he's not going to notice a pair of socks going missing.
That's probably a fair guess.
Yeah, he's got more important things to worry about. So, the very first sock toys that started popping up were actually baby dolls, like these guys down here. And they're super cute. And it wasn't until the red heel was added to the socks that the monkeys started appearing. And I think the monkeys have persisted for a couple of reasons, but one of them is monkeys are fun. Who doesn't like a monkey?
Absolutely agree.
And also, it almost completely utilizes a pair of socks. There's very little scraps left over when you make a sock monkey. And interestingly, those little scraps you can use to stuff them partially, but you don't have enough. So you're making toys out of recycled socks, but what are you going to fill them with?
That's a good question.
Well, you can see that guy down there has nylon stockings coming out of him. Nylons were a pretty common stuffing because once you get a run in a pair of nylons, they're not really good for much else, so use them to stuff a monkey.
Because again, this is going to be stuff that they're just like picking up,
Yeah,
right?
stuff that's
whatever's
around the house.
Yeah.
It's completely recycling before recycling was a big thing.
Okay.
But in our collection, we've also found other stuffings. And so this is our touch-it table of different things. They all feel different, but there's foam, rice, rags, a couple of other things. Now, the oldest monkey we have upstairs, she is filled with something that's not on this table. So what do you think she's filled with?
Hopes, dreams, and love.
Well, she's definitely filled with that. But those aren't tangible things.
That's true, that's true. I don't know. What is she stuffed with?
She's actually filled with sawdust.
Wow. See, I wouldn't have guessed that.
And it's interesting because a lot of vintage toys were stuffed with sawdust, which it's not really soft and cuddly, but
Right.
it was kind of.
I guess that gives you the weight still.
Yeah, and it's recycling definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So that's always good. Now, in the 1950s, there was a woman that came forward and she claimed that she had invented the sock monkey, and she wanted to get a patent on it. And basically, everybody out here who's making sock monkeys, they kind of owe her because they stole her idea. A court case happened. which is ridiculous. And of course, the nation put all of their eyes
on the monkey
that
court.
case. Yeah, not kangaroo court, it's monkey court this time. And well, what happened? They did some research. They found monkeys going back way further than when she was making them, and so she lost the case. But guess who did get the patent for the sock monkey? Nelson Knitting Company, because they heard all about that.
And they were like, oh, by the way, we've had it even longer.
Exactly. So from 1955 onward, they started including these instructions with every pair of red heel work socks. Which is great because after the court case and all of that, people started buying the work socks not to wear and then maybe recycle into a monkey. They were buying them just to make these now. So that's really when the big fad kicked off. A lot of these monkeys started popping up in the 1950s. And even today, even though Nelson Knitting Company closed their doors in the 1990s, their intellectual property was bought by another company named Fox River, and they still make the red heel work socks today, and they still have these instructions today. So you can even buy them downstairs, and you can still make a sock monkey.
Wow.
Oh, by the way, the patent did run out in the 1970s.
Okay, so these are all free now.
Yeah, they're all free now. The sock monkey belongs to everybody. They are a folk art.
I feel like considering where it came from, that's appropriate.
I think it's
I
very
feel like
appropriate.
it belongs to the world.
I love that. And so that's sort of the history of the sock monkey. And then we have kind of what our museum's really about is a collection.
Right.
And I think this area right here perfectly sums up what I love about the Sock Monkey Museum. These are our soulmates. These are monkeys that were made by the same person. They were either made to be together or they were made as siblings. How these kind of happen are a few reasons. One of them being maybe a mom made a monkey for each of her kids, or grandma made one for each of the grandkids, or maybe there was the weird sock monkey lady in town that just made sock monkeys for all the kids. And I'm kind of becoming that, so I have a kinship with that.
It's not a bad title to have.
Oh, not at all. And interestingly, we have a couple of known cases of ladies in communities where every time a child gets admitted to the local hospital, she would make them a sock monkey as a recovery
cute.
buddy. So we knew about one in Alabama, we knew about one here in Illinois, but about a month ago, we had a woman come in, cradling a monkey in her arms, and the monkey's name was George. I don't remember the lady's name. I don't remember monkey. I remember monkeys. I don't remember people.
Fair.
So she had her monkey with her, and we asked, well, how did you two meet? You know, it's what we always say when somebody comes in with a sock monkey. And she said, oh yeah, he was made for me by a woman. I was in the hospital as a child. I had surgery and I was recovering. The lady made him for me. We're like, oh, are you from Alabama? Oh no. Are you from Illinois? Oh no, I'm from Missouri. So it's like, oh, here's a third lady doing this. And we totally had no idea. So now we at least know 3 ladies, but who knows how many monkeys they made. And
Yeah.
what I really like here is some of these monkeys were found years apart, states apart from one another. It wasn't until the second one came into the collection that we took a look and said, hey, wait a minute. You're wearing the same little outfit as the other guy there, or you have the same embroidery, or you have the same little pom-poms. Like, you're soulmates. You've been waiting for each other to reunite.
And then they're here together finally. It's where they were
knows?
meant to be.
Who knows how many years or decades they spent apart. And now they get to be appreciated by everyone here. And I just think they're so special because they're all as unique as the person that made them.
Oh yeah, and they definitely got to go have, stories and everything and then come back together to share them.
I love it so much, and I also really like it because it kind of shows how each one is different. You got these guys that are super high effort. They have their full little clown outfits. And then you got those guys down there that don't even have faces. I'm kind of closer to that than the outfits. And then they're all made of some of them have different socks. Some of them, have different shapes and eyes. Even the placement of their mouth can totally change how they look.
Yeah.
So they're just as unique as people, and I really appreciate that. That's
Absolutely.
the joy of it being handmade.
Now, speaking of collection and whatnot, I heard that you guys have a Guinness World Record here?
Yes, so we have the Guinness World Record as of August of 2023
Okay.
for the most vintage handmade red heel work sock monkeys in the world.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. And back when we got the world record, we had just a bit over 2,000. We now have 2,200 because people are sending their monkeys to us. The collection, when it was first being gathered, was bought in eBay lots or found in antique malls. Now that people know we're here, they just kind of send monkeys to us. We'll show up and there'll be a box sitting on our front doorstep filled with vintage sock monkeys, and sometimes there isn't even a letter to go with them. They just appear.
Here's some monkeys.
Like, here you go. We had about a month, maybe a month and a half ago, just 3 boxes of vintage monkeys show up. And
who could ask for a better mail delivery than that, right?
Exactly. Believe me, unboxing them is so much fun. I love it so much, and we all kind of gather around, and they're all so different. The coolest thing is that load of monkeys that came in. We found one that was filled with yarn scraps, which we had never seen before.
Wow.
And he had these rainbow pom-poms, and he had the rainbow yarn. You could see it through his socks. It was very firmly stuffed. So his name's Funfetti. And I happen to name a lot of monkeys here. I like to impart a little bit more.
Well, you're a marvelous monkey maker, so it makes sense. You gotta name them.
Part of my job title. But I can show you over here in our Vecchio hangout. So when I first started here, the very first monkey that I got to name is he's the little guy right there with the green and red pom-poms next to the guy in the desk. His name is Bingle.
Bingle, okay.
Bingle is
That's a very monkey name.
It's a very good monkey name, but we have plenty more. And yeah, I really like it because not only do we have our collection here, but also we do workshops where you can make your own monkey and take it home.
Oh, we might have to look at that. Who doesn't want to adopt a monkey?
Exactly. It's even better because you can put your own spin on them. And we like, whenever we have a workshop, we let people come up here first and look around to get some inspiration.
Okay.
Because you wouldn't believe it, there is a million different ways and no wrong way to make a sock.
Just like people.
Exactly.
We're all different, nobody's wrong. So looking more at the collection, I saw this amazing wall here. I love the tree and everything.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything special? Like what are all of these? Are there any classifications here?
So this is kind of our pop cultural area, but we do have some more historic monkeys here. Like that's our sawdust girl right there. Her name is Dusty.
Oh wow.
And she's quite aged. She's been through a lot, but she's still very glamorous with her little ruffle and her rhinestone eyes. And she isn't the oldest in the museum now. She used to be. The oldest is actually downstairs, and I can let you meet him a little later.
Okay.
But over here are our non-monkeys, protected under the imposing form of Gilda the giraffe. And there's all kinds of creatures here. I really like the goat who's there. I like the little frog. The grasshopper his legs are a little gross to me. But as another toy maker, I can appreciate the craftsmanship that went into him.
Still a lot of creativity.
Oh, very creative. And I also really like the elephant because, oddly enough, elephants are the second most common sock animal that we have. We only have one on display, but we have a lot more.
I wouldn't think that. And it looks so more complicated. I like that.
It is, but also, not only did they include instructions for sock monkeys, they started with that, but they started also including instructions for elephants later on. So that's probably why.
Okay.
But let's see, over here we have, there's Elvis, of course.
Gotta have the king, right?
And this is Socrates right here. He's the star of our Sockumentary, and he is very knowledgeable about sock monkeys. You can find that out yourself. But if you want to meet a celebrity, there he is.
I'm a little starstruck.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, I mean,
is this a wagon of clowns here?
That is that's the clown wagon right there. They're headed for some monkey business. Gonna do something. They all look like they're soulmates too, because they don't have the same sort of decoration.
Definitely, you can tell that if it wasn't the same person, very much the same thought into these.
So these are actually our most recent soulmates, right down here on this little bench. They came in yesterday.
Oh wow.
So, interesting story. One of these guys was originally up on the shelf by Gilda, and a woman came in and she said, "Oh, well, I have a monkey that looks like that." And we're like, "Hey, wait a minute, really?" And her monkey's name was Eugene, and she showed pictures, and then she came back and brought Eugene. And so it's like, wow, okay, I guess they're soulmates. But she really had a deep personal connection with Eugene, and she felt really bad that she didn't want to leave him behind and let him be reunited. But we never want to take somebody's monkey from them, of course. It's like, if you want to donate it, that's up to you. We're not going to strong arm you.
Yeah, yeah.
And so time goes by, and we're looking on eBay, and we find a soulmate. So now there's triplets of them. And
Someone's got to let Eugene know.
Well, we let Eugene's owner know. We sent a picture to her, and she was so tickled, she actually bought the one on eBay for us and donated them.
Oh, that's a happy ending.
It is, and they're triplets. Eugene's middle name is now Jocko, and then we have Socko, and Rocco is our newest addition. So,
was there any story about who made them? Do y'all know yet?
we don't know yet. We are trying to find out from the eBay seller, like where they're located, so we can maybe try to do some research.
Sure.
But so far we're not sure. But obviously there's 3 of them in existence.
There we go. That is fantastic.
And right now we're working on a international display as well. We don't have it up yet. But we have some monkeys from all over the world. We have one from Cape Town, South Africa. We have one from Germany. And our most recent international monkey is all the way from Japan. There was a town in Miyagi Prefecture that actually has a sock monkey as their town mascot. They even have a huge mascot suit of him and everything. And it's so wild. My best friend out in California found this sock monkey in a thrift store. And she loves thrift stores. She knows I work here, so she said, "Hey, you really think about this monkey?" And he had a tag all in Japanese. I thought, "Oh no, I don't know that." So she bought him for me, and we went down a rabbit hole researching. It turns out this town, his name is Ono-kun, is the name of the character, and he was created in 2011 after the tsunami. It devastated their town, and so all of the mothers in town, they started making sock monkeys to help raise funds to rebuild their town.
Nice.
And he's still their mascot to this day. And we actually had a gentleman from Japan come in yesterday who had 2 other Ono-kun monkeys with him, and so they took a picture all together. It was really sweet. But well, we're hoping to have that up soon.
I love that. Even though they definitely have that, Midwest and American flavor, very distinct, they're still for the whole world.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, everybody, no matter the language or where they're from, it looks like everybody can fall in love with these guys.
Yeah, they're so unique and special, and they, like I said, they're as unique as each person that makes them. Love is homemade.
Absolutely. Well, let's head downstairs and check it out.
All right.
All right, so who is this?
So this is Luno. He is our oldest monkey currently in the museum, and he's 92 years old.
Oof.
And you can tell he's got a bit of battle damage. He's been through a lot of play.
Well loved, right?
Yeah, and he's got a great story. So the way that he ended up with us is we got a phone call out of the blue one day. A woman named Linda, she was on the phone and she said, "I'm in my 70s, I'm going into a retirement home and I have to downsize. But my kids don't want my monkey, my grandkids don't want my monkey, but I don't want him to get thrown away. Can he come retire here at the museum?" And we said, "Oh, absolutely. We would love to have him." And so she told us all about him. He was made by her grandmother in the 1930s. And her name was Luna, the maker. And he didn't come with a name, so we named him Luno in honor of her.
That is such a great story. It's very heartwarming.
Yeah, but he gets to enjoy his retirement. He's our ambassador. He gets to be loved and held. And he's been through a lot. He's got his different eyes and his little patchwork here.
And I love that you guys didn't want to sew everything up. Still keep him in the same that he was.
So we do get asked a lot, do you repair the monkeys when they come in? The answer is, it depends. If it is something where a limb is going to fall off, like it is just hanging on by a thread, we'll whip its arm back on.
Okay.
But if it's something where the structural integrity isn't compromised, much like Luno's run back here, then we'll keep them the way they are because they're scars.
So kind of an emergency as needed.
Emergency as needed, just to make sure they don't deteriorate further.
Because you would hate to, I guess, fix it up and have it make it worse and lose the monkey.
Exactly. Or, I mean, I don't want to hide what he's been through because that's part of who he is. I mean, all of his little stains. Maybe somebody out there look at these and go, "Oh, put some Clorox on that, clean him up or something." I'm like, no, that could have been a ketchup stain from his owner in 1950. Who knows? But I feel like his little quirks are what make him who he is.
I absolutely agree. Okay, so now we're actually gonna make a monkey of our own, right?
Yep, so this is sort of an example of one of our workshops we do where you can make your own original sock monkey. And our kits, you can actually buy a kit and take it home if you like, if you can't make it to one of our workshops. But basically what you get are a pair of Red Hill work socks that have been pre-marked, and they've had sort of the boring part has been done for you. So that's cutting these lines right here. So this is the tail right here. These are the arms, there's the mouth, there's the ears and the hat. And then the sock right here is your body, your booty, and your legs. And so what you'll do in one of our workshops is just cut along this line and then turn the pieces inside out, and then you'll cut these guys out, turn them inside out, and then stuff them and attach them to the body and put on the buttons, and there you go, you got a monkey. But we're gonna kind of speed run this a little. It laid out for you. So usually what we do is have people do this body sock first, because one, it's easier, and sometimes when people start the workshops, they're a little intimidated, especially if they have no sewing experience, which if you have no sewing experience, you can do this. It'll take
pretty simple.
It's pretty simple, and it's a great project to learn because it teaches you how to attach things, how to put on buttons, which is a great skill to have if you ever pop a button off of something. So it's a really great project to start with. So we got our little body right here. There's his butt, and these are his legs. And so what you're going to do is, even it's a little rude, you gotta open them up right here and you have to turn them inside out.
Oh!
Yeah. And so we got the body turned right here, and then the hardest part of turning are the little limbs. So we provide a dowel for each one, and there is a little trick. So what you do is you take the end of the foot here and you sort of cup it. You gotta pull it out and then cup it. So you're pushing it in just a little, and then you put in the dowel and you prop it up on the table and just shimmy your way on down. And then when you get here, you find the hole. There it is. And then boop. Oh, turned inside out.
It still floors me that something like this comes from just a pair of socks.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, that's great.
We have no idea who invented the sock monkey, but it was probably a mother, and she was probably very, very creative.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see what she would do with like today's things that are out there. You know, all these kind of resources. Who knows?
I want to see her try to like turn a Furby into something. That'd be amazing. But I always like the creativity. It's almost like the same mentality as people that make like Lego builds that don't have
just the unofficial things.
Yeah, the unofficial things.
Look, I made this amazing building.
And it's I look at people who do that and I'm like, how did you even look at a pile of Legos and come up with that? But then I can grab a sock and I can be like, oh, I can turn that into a dolphin. I can turn that into a bird. It's, I don't know, different kind of mentality. So what you'll do is you'll have this and you'll stuff them, but we got this guy already turned inside out, so we're gonna stuff him up. And you can actually use the dowel to help stuff as well. Okay. This is our favorite magic trick we like to show to little kids. It's look at how flat this is, but as soon as you snip it, it starts to inflate.
What?
Yeah.
Incredible!
Kids don't understand vacuum sealing, so it's quite shocking to them. But
gotta enjoy the little things when you can.
Oh, yeah, you got it. And then, so I'm gonna hand this over to you.
Okay.
And you can start stuffing that monkey right there.
All right, where do I stuff him at? Where's?
So it's right there. And
right here. Okay.
I would start with the legs.
There we go.
Yeah. And then you can use the dowel to kind of like musket it down.
Okay. Let's
and
go.
I'll stuff this one too.
So we push that into there. But now, is there any exact amount that we're trying to get in, or just nice and firm?
It's whatever feels right. We have some people that stuff them very loosely, like this guy's very loosely stuffed. We have some that go full potato mode, and they are incredibly firm, but those ones are just as great. And even better, these socks, we don't have like a manufacturer who does these. We have a guy who just does these, or we also have a group of church ladies that'll come to the museum on one of our slow days, and they'll just sew these up. They'll bring their sewing machines, and so even though these are pre-done, a human did them. And sometimes you end up with one leg that's a little shrimpier than the other, or you end up with different shaped ears. So they're all a little different.
A little bit of character.
A little bit of character. A machine did not do the entire process. I mean, a sewing machine did, but there was a person behind it. So
you couldn't just punch something in and be like, all right, good job, machine.
yeah, and there's no robot arm doing it for us. We're not quite that level.
Which is
of
becoming
operation.
more and more rare.
Yeah, I really like the hands-on approach, and it's funny because we have people come in where you can tell it was one person in the group that was really hot to do this.
Yeah.
And then like they'll end up being a person that just kind of got dragged along. We had a workshop where it was a older woman, and then she brought her daughter, and her daughter brought her husband.
Okay.
The husband did not want to be there. he didn't know anything about sewing. He was just kind of like dragged. But even when we have people that really aren't into it, we will help make their monkey because we want everybody to go home with a completed monkey. And so I basically made the guy's monkey for him. And it was funny because he had this big old beard, I remember. And when I put the mouth on his monkey, I left the like the sock part raw on the bottom, so it looked like it had a beard too. And then of course I finished up his monkey, and all of the rest of his table are still working on theirs because they were actually making theirs.
Sure.
And he had the audacity to just trash talk them the whole time, be like, well, my monkey's done. And they're like, yeah, because she made it for you.
After he didn't want to do it, he's like, what's going on?
Yeah, now he suddenly had something to brag about. But
sounds pretty typical.
it's pretty typical, and it's fun. Now you have to seal it up, which this is the part that scares people because it's sewing,
Okay.
but it's very easy. Which I guess is so much for me to say. I think it's pretty easy, but I also sew monkeys all the time, so
Magnificent monkey maker.
you gotta learn somewhere. So you get yourself a nice long length of yarn, or not yarn, but thread. And this is the part that it really unlocked it for me. Because when I used to make stuffed animals, because I made animals before sock animals, and the problem is I would always take forever to make a knot, and then it would pull through the fabric, and all of my stitches would come undone, and I'd get angry, and I'd throw the project across the room and never touch it again. This solves that problem. So what you're gonna do is get a nice long piece of thread, double it over so you have both ends, put both ends through the eye, and we have nice big eyes on our needles. Come on, buddy. They don't have a little bit of fuzz keeping them from getting in. Come on. There we go. And so pull it down, and now you got a loop down here. So what you're gonna do is, it's a lot of what are called ladder stitches. So I'm gonna turn it this way, and you're gonna put the needle through, just catch a little tiny bit, pull, 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 stop, and then you're gonna put it through the loop, and that locks it on. So now there's no knot that can pull through. It stays in the sock, especially with like a loose knit material like these socks. You want to definitely make sure you
got a
lock it
tight
in
loop
place.
on there.
And then what you're gonna do is just work your way up. So you're gonna do across on one side, and then like a ladder, you're gonna make a rung, and you're going to go on the other side. There's also a variation of this called the, I believe it's called the Muppet stitch or the Henson stitch, because it's one that's used on the Muppets a lot.
Okay, I guess those are all handmade, aren't they?
Yeah. And so you'll just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And pretty much the construction of the monkey is this one stitch. Over and over and over and over again.
I mean, that makes sense because when they were making them, I'm sure it wasn't necessarily seamstresses.
Oh,
So
no,
it
it
was
was-
probably the what do I use to patch up clothes? That's what we're gonna do.
See, we have the luxury of not having a toddler clawing at us like most of the mothers who were making these had. Like, Mom, when's it done? When's it done? Luckily we don't, so. Also, you have to remember back in that era, sewing was very much
Like a necessity, right?
a necessity, yeah. I mean, you had to darn your socks all the time, and you had to sew up things. You had to make your own clothing. So sewing was essential back then. So I imagine this was kind of an easier project when sewing was more of a commonplace skill set. So I just went and knotted this, and then another cool trick, if you ever make another stuffed animal, you put it through the animal
Okay.
at some random point, it doesn't matter, and then you pull it real tight. You get your pair of scissors, and you snip it, and it hides the thread inside the toy, so it can't come undone. So there is your body complete. That's one sock. And now we have the rest of these.
Okay.
So we got the tail, and we've got the arms, and we got the mouth, and the hat, and the ears, and the eyes. So what you're gonna wanna do definitely is roll this in. Now, do you wanna give a shot putting his tail on?
Sure.
Okay.
I could try.
Yeah, and I can always take.
I'll do like one or two, and then you can do it much faster.
Oh, believe me, we always encourage people to give it a shot if they're feeling comfortable. A lot of the time, we'll have like younger people that have never sewn before, and we'll say, they'll be really scared, and they'll be like, I'm not sure I'm gonna do it right, and we always say, there's no wrong way to do it.
As long as it gets on there, right?
And I've seen people like, they're like, oh no, there's something wrong with my monkey, I can't fix it, or like, see, this guy's got a really big open hole here. I had one our last workshop where she had torn the monkey from here all the way around to here. And she handed it to me like, this can't be fixed. I'm like, okay, challenge
And then you fixed it?
And then I fixed it for her. So there is no wrong way. If there's a run in it, there's a way to patch it up. If there's anything wrong, you can always take a seam ripper to it and start over, which is not a fun option, but there's nothing.
Salvages the monkey.
Salvages the monkey. Saves a monkey. So I'm gonna go ahead and thread this for you.
Okay.
And then the great thing is you get to decide where you want the tail. Now
Let's see. So if he wants to sit, I guess it would be like maybe up here.
Usually like right here is a good spot for
I love
it.
it. Looks good.
And then I like to roll the ends in so you don't have to deal with the raw edge anymore.
Okay, yeah. That makes
And
sense.
So what I'm gonna do for you is I'm gonna lock it on.
Okay. And then I can just start
And
ladder
then you
stitching.
can just start ladder stitching it, yeah. So I'm going to start right at the end here. So, grab a couple of loops, maybe a couple more. There we go. Pull it through. And I will warn you that the threads can slip out of the eye, so just make sure you keep aware of how much slack you have.
Okay.
And then I'll give you a tutorial. So what you're gonna do now is you're gonna go through both layers of the tail. So you're gonna poke through both layers because we're gonna seal the tail and attach it at the same time.
Great.
And then what you're gonna do is go back through, and then you're going to go through the body.
And then pull it just up through that?
Yeah, and just kind of repeat that and see how far you wanna go with that.
All right, so we're gonna go through both. Mm-hmm. Get into the monkey.
Yep, perfect.
And then just pull
and don't pull.
Oh,
Yep, you gotta hold on.
There we go. So I'll still pull that through.
And you can just rethread it.
All right.
There's no like impossible situation. There's always a solution.
All right, there's one, and then get the other one through. Come on. Oh, did I? Almost got it. There we go.
Perfect. Just make sure to keep an eye on the slack you got.
Yeah, see, and you just said that, and what did I do immediately?
You're not the first person, and you will not be the last.
Okay, so how do I make sure it's threaded on here properly?
So you want to at least make sure that that's pretty good, actually. You gotta make sure you're about halfway down.
Okay.
And then you use this finger to kind of hold it, or you can even pinch the eye to make sure it doesn't fly out.
So now we're gonna take it and go back up through here. Mm-hmm. We're gonna pull that through.
And then pinch the eye.
Right here, just to make sure
right there,
that
and
it's
then it won't
not-
fall out. Perfect.
There we go. And then we'll go back in. Now, is there a normal amount of stitches that you usually suggest for this, or?
Not really. Just as many as it takes to attach it.
Fair.
They're all different, and you'll kind of get a feel. You can look at it and say, hey, that looks like it's gonna fall off. Maybe I should put a couple more.
Okay. And look at that, all done, a brand new sock monkey in the world, and that means the world becomes just a little bit better of a place. Well, that's all the time we have for today, adventurers. My name is David, and this has been Abnormal Voyages. Thanks for tagging along. See you in the next one.